This is a Glass Box Media podcast.
Welcome to My Worst Date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
And I'm Christina.
Hi.
Hi.
I have brought a lovely little article. Perhaps it may help you.
I feel untrusting. I'm nervous.
You may find yourself in this situation. It came up in my Facebook. So I'm like, what are you trying to tell me, Zuck?
Ooh.
But it says, spot a narcissist before you marry, hire, date, or befriend one by asking these two questions.
Okay.
So healthy narcissism is real. Toxic narcissism is also real, is what it says. So you can be like, you can
Into yourself, feel yourself.
You can feel yourself, but when you're like feeling yourself at the expense of other people,
That's right.
that's when it's bad. So question number 1,
Okay.
who is the most important person in your life? Those
Me.
with narcissistic personality. Exactly. They can typically talk about themselves for hours on end, but have a hard time describing the other people in their lives in any kind of real way.
Okay. Because that was going to be my question, is that, like, in my experience, I feel like a lot of people that I know that I feel like maybe have narcissistic tendencies, they would know enough to know not to say me. Right. Like, because they're manipulative. So they would like maybe be like my mom or whatever. But then if you asked them to like describe what you like about her to me.
Yeah.
You know,
it's really difficult for them to nail like a real answer to that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the second one, this is going to, I think, surprise you.
Okay.
To what extent do you agree with this statement? I am a narcissist. As insanely obvious as this sounds, this is a reliable way to identify a narcissist. A study found that
Cassie looks like she is sweating.
they don't see it as an issue, so they will readily admit that they are narcissists. That I was like, what? People who are willing to admit they are more narcissistic than others probably actually are more narcissistic. People who are narcissists are almost proud of the fact. You can ask them directly because they don't see narcissism as a negative quality. They believe they are superior to other people and are fine with saying that publicly.
Right. It's tough because it's
there's a
like
difference between liking yourself and feeling that you're superior.
right. Exactly.
That's what they're saying. Healthy narcissism is okay. When you think you're superior to other people is when it becomes toxic.
Because it's like there is such a thing as like, first of all, you should like yourself, you know, and you should put yourself first in a lot of aspects of your life. So I feel like those things, having like a healthy understanding of your worth,
right,
is one thing. Narcissism, or at least toxic narcissism, feels like something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because Cass, you joke all the time about being a narcissist, but I think you're like healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Thank God.
You don't ever come off as or say that you're better than anyone else.
No.
Like you're not that vibe at all.
No, and I think that mine really, if I'm just being truthful, I think mine stems from a place of self-preservation and protection, in which, you know, like throughout my life, I've kind of from a very early age felt like I was the only one looking out for me.
Yeah.
And having to protect myself. And so I think that it stems more from not feeling better than anybody, but just knowing that you got to take care of number one, because who else going to do it for you?
Yeah.
That's something I mean, that was almost a mantra when I was like 10.
Yeah. I think you're too introspective to be a true narcissist. Like, I think that you have
from
anxiety.
our full diagnosis.
You have anxiety, right? Which, like, I feel like oftentimes a lot of people who have anxiety spend a lot of time being very introspective and thinking about to their own detriment, myself included, and thinking about like how their actions have affected other people, or like how their actions are being perceived by other people.
That's right.
Like, we care about that kind of thing.
I think that I'm balanced out with a healthy sense of empathy is my thing. So I do tend to be narcissistic. I do tend to protect myself. I do tend to think of myself in scenarios, but
You've
I
got
definitely
main
have
character energy.
I know. And I don't
Absolutely. And I love it.
I mean, but I also have a real strong empathy level.
Yeah.
So I always put myself in other people's shoes. Like, oh God, how would that make me feel? Because that's also part of my narcissism is like,
narcissists
I wouldn't want to feel bad.
Don't do that. Like true narcissists don't do that. Like they don't care how their actions are affecting other people.
Have you guys dated a narcissist?
No. Not that I can recall.
Not that I can recall either.
Going through my Rolodex.
It's been a minute. So
a small Rolodex.
Who knows? Same.
Yeah, no, when I read those questions, I was definitely re-triggered.
Oh, no, you've definitely.
I married one.
You did, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Which is why there's something I got to tell you.
I realized that while I was in it. And so it's
I didn't
for
realize
me, I want
he was either until later.
Yeah.
Like, and I knew him. We were friends, you know?
It hits me so hard because I have many times compared myself because of we're both Aries.
Oh,
and doing the like, am I like that? Do I do that? And you can't. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I know.
Consider
we used to talk about it because
like how similar we are.
Yeah, because both Chris, your husband, and I are both Capricorns,
practically the same people.
And yeah, it was just like, it's completely different though, and I hope that you recognize that now. Like,
I definitely don't think about it all the time. It's cool. I definitely don't.
Well, and here's
worry
the thing,
about
though. Like, look. Having been friends with the person that we're talking about, like, yeah, you and he can have like similar energies in certain things without accepting all of his like toxic behavior. Like you're not like that at all. Like those narcissistic things that we're talking about, the complete like disregard for anyone else's feelings.
If I cheated?
Oh, yeah, you would.
Could you imagine me coming to one of you guys having cheated?
Well, you would admit it right away is the thing. Like, and
first of all, I can't keep a secret.
No, you
exactly.
cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot. We would know like immediately.
As soon as you saw
where
me,
are you texting
you're
from?
calling in the drive.
I'm in bed with them right now. Save me. I'm an awful human.
Oh my God. Yeah. See, no, you guys are not alike at all. Yes, you are both Aries, but it's not, the similarity ends there.
Yeah.
I think you guys are completely different.
The thing is, you have a lot of like extrovert energy. You have a lot of like you're outgoing. You can be like loud and gregarious, but that's where the similarities end. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's it. It's not something you should be worried about.
I wanted to bring it up to see, like, I wish that there was a way for me to have recognized that I was dating or married to a narcissist before. I feel like it would have really informed how I could have handled things better, or maybe gotten myself out of there sooner.
It's like, so interesting.
Love is funny though, right?
Yeah, it's interesting how much clarity you have after the fact, because we've had a lot of conversations because you've had phone calls with him since then and stuff like that, and it's so obvious.
Now it's like
it's so obvious, but at the time, I mean, I knew him as a friend as well, and I didn't know him like super in a super close way, but like I didn't recognize it either. Like I might have been like, oh, he's a little selfish.
Yes.
Right? But like that's how I would have phrased it. It's like, oh, he's a little selfish.
Yeah, and in the same turn being like, different strokes for different folks kind of thing too.
Personality.
Like, I mean, that's, just not my jam or whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting.
But you're right. Hindsight 2020 on that. But the thing of it is love is funny, right? If you had known he was a narcissist, if you had seen those behaviors earlier, I think once you did see those behaviors, you did exactly what you would have done and should have done, which I
think I definitely like noticed those behaviors from the jump.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe there is more information out there now. I think, this was all before social media.
Sure.
Like all us getting together. So the more that I've been exposed to, learning about my own mental health has brought these terminologies in there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why he behaved in that way.
Sure.
Well, yeah, the conversation around it also, like the conversation around gaslighting, narcissism,
Oh,
the
yeah.
different ways you can be abused in relationships that aren't always physical.
That's right.
All of those conversations are happening so much more now than they were happening before. And they're being so freely, this information and experiences of other people are being so freely distributed on the internet.
Yeah.
So that like, I think that you can make connections now where you can
Well,
be like, oh, that's what was happening.
And as somebody who's empathic or has any sense of empathy at all, you can look at someone else and see what they're going through and be like, how could she let that happen to her? And then see, oh my God, how can I let that happen to me?
myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I wasn't with anyone who I would deem to be a narcissist, but I was definitely with people who were emotionally manipulative.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Definitely same.
definitely didn't see it like that until I got a little bit of space from it. And then I was like, oh, that's exactly what was happening. And it was toxic and harmful, like in a really real way that if I had recognized in the moment would have changed the way I went about that relationship, you know?
Yeah.
But like you don't always have the knowledge. And then two, love hormones do weird things.
Yeah, it's true. I have a real eye-opening experience with you saying that.
Yeah.
Something just like really hit me because one of my first boyfriends right after high school, I loved him and I just thought he was the best and he treated me so great and he was great with my son. But I always had in the back of my head, because I have this I don't trust anyone. You guys know me already. You know me enough to know that I'm a very much, until you get past that arm's length,
Right.
Yeah.
you're always going to be arm's length.
Yeah. Trust no bitch.
I trust no bitch and I
right.
trust no man. I very much arm's length with everyone. So like having somebody kind of come past that place was really important. And this person was around my son, but there was always in the back of my head, this like little thing that I couldn't put a finger on. There was this thing and I gotta be honest with you, this is going to get very trigger warning for some people because I am going to talk about some really awful stuff about this person.
Yeah.
So trigger warning about sexual assault. I would skip ahead. He was always would say things about being attracted to women who looked younger. He always pointed out women who looked younger, nobody that was underage necessarily, but it was really funny to me. Like I don't know, he was really kind of into age. He was really, and I always never trusted that he wouldn't cheat. He racked up a phone sex bill on my phone when my cousin was living with me and blamed it on my cousin and my cousin who is like the sweetest angel baby in the whole world. And he's like, I absolutely did not do that. And so I went back to dude and was like, this was not my cousin who did this. And he's like, oh yeah, it was me. Like just real, he gaslit
Pushing
me
the
a lot.
boundaries
Really
to see what he
pushing the
could get away
boundaries.
with. Yeah.
A lot of like real, like looking back again, like hindsighty, like very questionable behavior. And this is the guy who I definitely did sleep with, like just to be like, oh, I can get you.
Yeah.
He ended up marrying friend of a friend kind of situation, which is whatever. They moved to New Orleans. Hadn't heard anything about them since, and that's fine. Whatever, life moves on, and you just don't even think about these things until literally, like about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think I told you guys this. He was arrested as part of a sting operation for underage pornography and child on his computer. And I'm like, and there's that little tiny nagging voice that was in the back of my brain was like, yeah, no, that tracks.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like
that weird?
The ways in which like physical abuse and emotional abuse, like the ways in which they're similar, I think a big part of that is ignoring your intuition because you're like
100.
But all of these good things, that there's all of these good things and they make me feel like loved and valued and
I'm not at home anymore and I have somebody to help support me and I don't need,
right.
Man,
and it's like
so
all
many.
of those things. And so you ignore all the bad stuff.
And I have a kid, so who wants to date somebody like me?
And he probably reinforced those notions by constantly pointing at other women and like it wears on your self-esteem.
I definitely would talk shit about the voice in my head when I first moved out because so much of it, I feel like now I'm like, oh, that voice was trying to protect me.
Yes.
But it was saying things, it sounds the voice in my head sounds a lot like my mom. And so at that time, I was
fuck you, mom.
Fuck you, mom. Do what I want. But it's also, you know, I don't know. It was just like, you know, always pointing out the negative. So I thought that's just my negative self-talk. And so I ignored that voice for years.
That's a big part of it is when you don't trust yourself, you can't trust any of the language that's going on in your head.
Right.
It gets very hard to know. I mean, I experience that even now, like where it gets very hard to know, like, is this my intuition or is this just being mean to myself? Is this just me wanting to self-sabotage myself?
Ooh.
Like, and so then you become paralyzed and you can't make a decision because you don't know what's
true.
right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only way I can think of that I could have gotten around it, if I could go back to little baby angel, 23, 24-year-old Christina, would be to open up and find friends.
Outside
If
voices.
you can't trust the inside voices, find an outside voice that you can trust.
Yeah.
And
not people who just agree with you.
no.
Right.
You gotta
People
find
that
the real
challenge you.
ones. Yep.
People that challenge you, not make you feel bad, because there's a difference too.
Right.
I've had bad friends in my life too. That probably actually kept me from having good friends for a really long time.
Me too.
Because I've had bad friends who were like, you know, that's just your only, like,
I mean,
and
were
option.
we joking at the beginning of this episode about like I finally have a friend group that is full of girlfriends who did not fuck my husband?
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. That was off mic. Yes, we did just have that conversation.
Like, so, and then
You're like, this is so new for me.
So new. It's so
I mean,
great.
yeah. That's the thing too. It's like, it's not finding people who say yes to you for everything, but also people who aren't cruel to you.
Right.
They're where their advice and all that stuff is coming from a place of genuine love, and you know that.
Yes.
Because there are also people in your life who kind of get a little bit of pleasure from seeing you struggle or bringing you down.
Oh, for
right.
sure.
And like
Misery loves
sometimes
company.
it's difficult to tell whether or not those people are your friends. You know, it's very hard. I understand it's very hard. So it sounds easy just to be like, get you some girlfriends you can trust.
That's right.
It takes time, and it takes like really curating and cultivating those relationships.
It took me like 20 years.
It's hard.
I forced my love on you, and I don't regret it at all.
No regrets.
No regrets.
I love it.
You really are like that. You know, they always say that like all introverts need an extrovert to like sponsor them, like adopt them, take them under their wing and force them. You know,
did.
like that's
You did.
It's me with everyone though, and
love
I'll
it.
even adopt other extroverts. Look, our friend Mackenzie, she came to Thanksgiving. My first conversation was, let's go get her nails done together. You know what I mean? Like, we were like, but you know that about me.
Yeah.
I love to love people. I love being surrounded by people. Doesn't mean I trust everyone, but it does. I give everyone a shot.
yeah.
You do.
You give people multiple shots. Whereas
do.
like that's the thing about me is I feel like I allow a lot of stuff until we hit the limit. And then once we hit the limit, I'm like
done.
double fucking deuces.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like, you know, you don't want to get to that place.
No, Pisces for sure.
Yeah, 'cause
Pisces don't fuck around.
We're
Like,
like,
when they're
snip,
done.
snip, bitch.
Oh yeah.
Get you out of my life.
Y'all, you were like, burn that bridge here. Like, got matches and gasoline out. They're all like, fucking
like
what bridge?
Angela bassetting the
Yeah.
car
I'm
behind
like,
him.
I gave you 80 chances. On 81, we're done.
We're done.
We're done.
And by 80 chances, she means I gave you one chance, and it was a real long one, but that was it.
That's it.
Well, okay. So speaking of narcissists and abusers and men
Bad
we
people.
would not trust, that kind of leads us into talking about men we would trust. So there is this person on TikTok, and you can go find them and follow them. Her name is Stina Lane, Styna Lane, and she has a series on her page that's Men I Would Trust to Hold My Drink.
Love it.
As women is no small thing.
That's high level trust.
High level trust, right? You know, so I thought that would be a really fun FMK for us to do this week. Like just men that we would trust to hold our drink for us.
She had some real solid stingers in there. She had a
Yes.
couple that I was like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe not me.
Maybe
yeah,
not me.
but most of them actually I vibed with. I was like, yes, definitely. You know,
I definitely, the one that hit me in her series that I was like, yep, that's it. Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
To me, his energy is so pro-female and so
Yes.
supportive.
Yeah.
And he's just, I think he's the ultimate, you can hold my drink.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
That's who I'm picking.
Definitely. I was gonna go with John Boyega just because I think he's like
so cute.
right? Yeah, like so cute and so like passionate and everything. And he's got a British accent. It's just like win across the board. But one that keeps coming back for me is Steve Carell. Where I'm like, I think
that's a good one.
yeah. Maybe I have daddy issues.
Ooh. I
Looking
definitely
at this
do.
now, I'm like,
with him? Yeah, definitely.
Like, I definitely have daddy issues, but I'm actually picking the youngest one of the group so far.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Kamal Wow. Why can't I say his last name?
Nanjiani.
Nanjiani. Why can't I say that? Like, in my mind, I see it as a word.
That's why.
That's
you're
the problem.
misreading it in your head.
I'm misreading it out loud, and I'm like, I know. It's so stupid. Yeah. Anyway.
Kamal Nanjiani. Okay.
Nanjiani, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
It's a good group, right?
It is. It's a fun group.
Honestly, I secretly also think that Kamal, I don't know, secretly, I think Kamal is like so fucking hot.
So hot.
So hot.
Yeah, I actually agree. Yes. I think he's very hot.
I
great
thought
energy.
he was hot before he did his
Before
body.
he got jacked.
Yeah.
For the Immortals or whatever.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's hot now too, obviously, but I'm glad that he's starting to get into these hot lists.
Me
But it makes
too.
I think he's always been there.
I totally
think
agree.
he's adorable.
Actually prefer a less jacked guy myself. But
Yeah, my fear.
Me too.
My fear is always that, like, and I don't get this vibe from him at all, but I'm just like, sometimes there's like a geek to hot guy pipeline where they turn into assholes like Chris Pratt. And I'm like, please don't let that
yes.
happen.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
don't
see
feel
that
it
with them.
happening with him.
I would definitely let him hold my drink.
Right. And like also, again, Dr. TJ Fossil. These are vibes. These are general
Oh my
vibes.
gosh.
Like, we don't know these people. Like, who knows? Like, maybe they're awful in real life. We have
and
no idea.
also, like, welcome to the internet.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
podcasts in general, where I get to say what I fucking want
Yeah.
to say. And
Welcome
These
to my
are
house.
They're giving I would let you hold my drink vibes.
Exactly.
That's
so
right.
yeah.
Okay,
yes.
so Nick Offerman, Steve Carell.
Oh man, you brought Steve Carell to the party, and I'm sorry, I gotta marry him. I have been in love with him since that one movie he did with Keira Knightley.
Seeking a friend for the end of the world.
I
Yeah.
fell in.
He's so cute.
Oh my god,
Oh, that's so funny.
I
No.
love him. I love Steve Carell.
I love the movie where he's with Jake Gyllenhaal and Emma.
Oh, Crazy Stupid Love.
Yes.
Crazy Stupid
Is that
Love.
Jake Gyllenhaal?
No, it's,
It's,
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same guy. Anyway. Same person.
Insert man here. Yeah, like literally.
Same person, right?
Yeah,
Got it.
pretty much.
Whatever happened to Ryan Gosling? He hasn't done anything in like forever.
He was married to Eva.
Mendez.
Yeah.
Or there's
I think they still are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good for them.
All right. Steve Carell.
I'm.
Nick Offerman. God, this is hard.
I know.
This one is really challenging.
Oh.
I think I know what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I think I know
All
what
right,
I'm gonna
all right,
do.
all right.
I'm gonna marry Steve Carell.
Okay.
I'm gonna marry him.
Okay.
I think he's funny. He's so intelligent.
Yeah.
I've seen, his interviews and stuff. He feels to me the most like I think he's a secret introvert. I really do. Seeing him in interviews and stuff, he definitely seems
I don't
very
think he's
subdued.
a secret introvert. I think he's definitely an introvert for
So,
sure.
and hearing like old stories, and then you get to be friends with like Stephen Colbert.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that's worth it alone. So, marrying Steve Carell, and then I'm gonna fuck Nick Offerman.
Okay. You know what? I feel like Nick Offerman is
Yeah.
bringing vibes. You know what
Yeah.
Nick Offerman is bringing? His wife. He's bringing Megan to the table.
And I'm not mad at that.
Yes. You're going to have a threesome.
I'm gonna learn
So
many
much.
It's going to
things.
start in a hot tub, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a friendly.
Definitely.
It's going to be one of those things where you're like, it was just,
going
we're just
over.
going, hey, you guys, we're going to go to the cabin this weekend. Why don't you join us?
Yes. Yes.
That bring
Yes.
bring Eric. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And you do. And then you end up in the hot tub and they're like, fuck clothes.
And it's
huh?
one of those things where it's
yeah.
not
a
even
couple
natural-
glasses of wine.
It's
things
not even
progress.
weird later either.
No.
Like
And
they make you feel so comfortable that
starts
the next
real funny,
morning,
like she's fucking with your tits or some shit, right?
Yes.
Like, feels very familiar.
This is getting very detailed.
Very
I am
specific.
getting sweaty.
I feel like Cassie's definitely written like a literotica entry.
This
about this.
Oh my God. It makes me think of that Saturday Night Live skit with Will Ferrell.
Yes, my lovers.
Yeah, and then I think I gotta kill Kamal, and it's he's so hot, but at the end of the day, that's what I'm going for. That's what works for me.
This is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, very hard. I don't feel my first instinct was to say I should marry Nick Offerman.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Same.
I don't think I can because I don't think I can take him away from Megan. Like
No,
they are
they're
like the
perfect.
most unless we could be like a throuple situation. I could
Yeah.
be a sister wife.
Yes.
But I would also know that I would never be like
Number
on top.
one.
You're
I would
really
never
number
be.
two always.
I would never be number one in that relationship. So I can't marry Nick Offerman. So that takes him off the table. Now, this is one of the harder ones we've had in a while.
Yeah.
I see value in marrying either one of these men. Like Kumail and Steve Carell. They bring different things to the table.
Right.
I think I am actually, and I'm surprising myself, I'm going to marry Kumail.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that's a good vibe. I think he is more fun and outgoing.
Yeah. We're
Yes.
going to do a lot more
That's
stuff.
where I was going to go
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
He's going to sing karaoke.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Like I feel like he would be spontaneous. He's gonna go out. We're gonna do like real fun stuff together. I feel like he'd also be very open to like different like lifestyle changes. Like we'll go traveling, we'll go hiking, we'll like also do those things.
Oh my God, that's exactly what I see with him too.
Yeah. So I am gonna marry Kumail. I don't want to kill
No,
either
don't
of
want
these men.
Oof.
However,
I just thought about having sex with Steve.
oh no. I don't mind the thought of that. However, it's going to be more fun with Nick.
I think
Like,
I think it's a fun night. I see an intensity with Steve Carell where I'm like,
Yes.
He's going to surprise you.
I think I'm going to get surprised in bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got an intense energy.
But, I can't turn down, crawling into bed with Nick and Megan. I'm going to go that route.
Okay. I've actually changed my mind like 3 times.
I know.
over here.
It's very hard.
Gosh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to marry Nick Offerman. And here's why. He's a crafty motherfucker. And
He
I like
is.
that.
He really
and
is.
in my
Handy.
head, I have to just not consider Megan Mullally.
Yeah.
Like in our unfortunate, in this scenario, Megan Mullally
parallel
just,
universe.
She doesn't even exist.
Yep.
He
Okay.
never met her. And so she doesn't exist in this universe.
Mhm.
And
Also,
so
she's got a fiery energy. You have a fiery
That's
energy.
exactly right.
Yeah, I feel like he would like that.
we're
Yes.
very similar.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
very similar.
Okay.
Okay. So, and he's crafty. I love that.
yeah,
I love
he'll build you a table.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He'll build me a whole house if I want.
Yeah.
I like it, and I like that. I am going to fuck Camille.
Mhm.
He's sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you might fuck outside.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I'm getting real
Mhm.
fuck outside energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like on a nice like plaid picnic blanket. Like not like I'm not
I was
trying
thinking
to
like in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
in
or
the
just, like,
woods though. Yes,
like
totally.
private
But not where
fucking.
anything could end up in places I don't want them. Like
Amen.
a beach.
Oh,
you know?
God, no.
Mm.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm
Okay.
gonna fuck Camille. And then, oh man.
I know. I didn't even say it
Yep.
myself. And I think that that's fine. The
I think
listeners
we're-
know. The
we
listeners
we
know.
Yeah.
It's
Process
just-
of elimination.
It's not going to be Steve Carell for me this time.
Yeah.
This time. Yeah.
This time.
Oh, that was so. That was a challenging one.
Yeah.
That was a good
listen,
one.
when it's good men, it's hard.
Hey,
Like-
there is something that we do need to talk about though before we get to the stories. I've got to shout out Keegan Winfield
Oh, who's that?
because she just redid our website, and you guys absolutely need to go and check it out. We've got new episode pages. We're continuing to like work to get everything all cleaned up and nice. We're getting a new events page coming up because there's
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So you absolutely need to go check it out.
Yeah.
And while you're there, go ahead and go on Apple and leave us a review. Pretty, please.
We love it. We love getting your reviews.
We haven't asked in a while, and so we're asking again, and it really helps us out, and we would very, very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so you guys ready? We'll take 5 and come back with stories.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
And we're back. Okay. So I'm going to kick us off with stories since I have the Tainted Love this week.
Ooh.
When eHarmony first came out, I decided to give it a try. I was matched with a gentleman who lived about 25 miles from me. On the day of our date, that ended up being a 2-hour drive in traffic. Do you live in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
That could be.
Honestly, like sometimes 5 miles will take you like
Forever.
at least an hour.
Yeah, you can't think in miles here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yesterday, Anthony was really craving these Dan Dan noodles from this place in Silver Lake. And he was like, let's go after work and get Dan Dan noodles. And I was like, you know what? Let's go tomorrow because after work from here to Silver Lake, I'm going to be pissed by the time we get there because we're going to have sat in traffic
Also,
for like an hour.
I really want Dan Dan noodles now.
Oh, so good. Okay. Yes, he asked if I would come to him. When I got to his place, he asked me to come inside and see his aquarium.
Okay.
I went inside to
2 hours after driving. I don't want to see shit. Sir.
Well, I'd like to see your bathroom because I probably have to piss. But
100%. I went inside to find a house with no furniture and a piranha tank in the corner. I watched this guy feed his piranhas.
I got super scared.
And
me
piranhas. Okay. Then, against my better judgment, we set off on the world's worst date. He offered to drive, but 5 minutes from his home, he announced we had to go get his car washed since it was his little sister's graduation the next day and he didn't want to roll up in a filthy car.
So I'm going on. Wait, time out.
I drove 2 hours. You had time to go get your car washed.
Time out.
Before I got here.
First of all, you're just taking him on a chore date. First of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, I need to go back to piranhas real quick. I need to have a conversation about how scared I was of piranhas as a youngster, that any open-faced water that was in a pool, I was frightened of. Have I ever experienced a piranha in my life? Do I live near the Amazon?
Well, same as quicksand.
Yes. The 90s worked overtime to make us afraid of piranhas. Like, they really did. Like, we thought it was going to be an issue. Like, every Bond villain ever had piranhas, like a piranha tank.
Yep.
Also, no furniture and a piranha tank is a vibe.
That's a serial killer vibe is what that is.
I'm like, is this how you dispose of the bodies?
It is.
Yes, it is. Period.
It is. That's it. Yes.
And then you're taking me to the car wash. Again, I was in traffic for 2 hours.
This is what I was talking about in the shorty, where it's like these guys want the girlfriend experience, but this is what they're giving.
Yeah.
This is what they're giving.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving the boyfriend experience.
And they the shitty boyfriend experience.
The toxic boyfriend experience. Okay, they're at the car wash. I asked if he can please just drive me back to my car, as clearly he doesn't want to be on a date and neither do I. But instead, I found myself sitting on a bench at a car wash while this guy bought 2 bottles of malt liquor from the convenience store next door.
Sorry.
He proceeded to crack one open, offering me the other. I declined and informed him that drinking at a car wash is surely not permitted. Sure enough, an employee came over and told him to throw it out. I once again asked to please be driven back to my car, but this guy insisted we get something to eat.
No, I'm not going to even get back in your car. In fact, at all. I will find a way to my car. Thank you. Goodbye.
Man.
At the time, I didn't have a cell phone. It was that long ago. So I agreed to get something to eat if we could go back to my car afterwards. He took me to some cheap sandwich shop, then hid in the bathroom when it was time to pay. I sat there for 10 minutes before just paying the damn check. Not surprisingly, he showed up immediately after I paid. He hid in the bathroom. And he insisted that they go out to eat. She gave him an out from going out to eat.
No, he wanted free food.
And my ass would be sitting there today.
Petty.
Truly.
Yes.
Yep. If you got something to say to me,
Cassie?
say it. Yeah, I'm still sitting at that diner waiting for that dude to come out of the bathroom. Motherfucker will pay this bill.
On the drive home, he stopped once again, this time to get gas, got out of the car to pump the gas and looked at the woman at the pump next to us, pointed into the car at me and exclaimed, "Damn, this girl can't keep her hands off my dick." Too stunned to speak.
Wow.
I was mortified. It felt like I was on a prank show. Fortunately, he dropped me off at my car right after this. I ran out of that car as soon as he set it in park and didn't look back. I could hear him screaming after me, "Where are you going? I thought we were going to fuck."
Clueless.
She adds at the end, "I need to add that I was very young and stupid when this took place. Never ever go inside a strange man's house on a first date. Always meet at a public location. If you feel unsafe, leave. No matter how rude or awkward you feel leaving, it's not worth risking your personal safety. So I know we've said that many times on this podcast, but I always do feel it's good to reiterate. It's okay. Like, society has conditioned us to not be a bitch.
Or to
be a bitch.
Do whatever we can to not hurt a man's feelings, but you know,
As
they're
long
not
as you
giving
feel-
us that same consideration.
Right. As long
at
as
all.
you feel safe, like safe enough to do so,
Yes.
get the fuck out
Yes.
of there as soon as you can.
Ugh, that's infuriating.
Yeah,
I'm
what-
so angry.
Piranhas. Like, the piranhas are what hooked me in that story. I was like, piranhas.
I mean, just that's what hooked. I mean, there's so much to unpack.
yeah.
Yeah, you didn't plan anything. That just makes me so angry. She makes
everything
this
about this
drive for 2 hours, and he couldn't take care of his fucking errands beforehand, and then forces her to go to a restaurant.
So she has to pay.
So I'm like, I'm not one of those people either that's like, oh, like the man always has to pay. I'm like,
But
no,
she drove 2 hours.
She
too.
drove
like,
2 hours, and you're making her. She didn't want to. So the assumption I would have is that you are paying for dinner.
Yeah.
right. Or bare minimum, pay for yourself.
At least. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm still in the
so
bathroom. I mean, I'm still sitting at that table. This motherfucker will pay for dinner. At least, or I will pay my half.
Honestly, she should have paid her half, asked the waitress to call a taxi.
Yes.
And been like, all right,
Oh,
you
that
know,
would've been
like,
great.
I'll pay for my half. He's in the bathroom. He can pay for his half when he gets out.
let's yes, that is the main character energy that we're looking for in this. I want to approach things in life now like I'm a main character.
Yeah. That was genuinely like not a resolution of mine, but just something that I told myself going into this year was just like, why do we always undersell ourselves?
Yeah.
Like, go into any given room thinking that you might be the most interesting person in that room and have that energy.
Yeah.
Because you might be. And like other people might see you like that. So
Yeah.
try to see yourself that way.
Also, it's a simulation anyways.
Yeah.
So
Oh, there you go.
Also, the world is ending and
Buy
nothing
my
matters.
NFT with your cryptocurrency.
So ours came in from a lovely listener, and the subject is first time date through dating app. She says, when I was in my 20s, it used to be so simple. Go out, dance, look at someone you liked, smile, dance next to each other, make out, boom, you're dating.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Even though this was not like a term at that time. I've been single for a while. My last boyfriend broke up with me about 3 or 4 years ago and then started stalking me, by the way, but that's another story.
Oi.
Anyway, I was single. COVID hit and made it hard to meet people. I'm in my 40s, Dutch, living in the Netherlands. All my friends are in relationships and pushed me to do it. So I made a profile on a dating site. That's so great, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
getting out there, but I understand, you know.
It's
if you're
similar
in
to your situation,
Yeah.
right? Like you were like, I'm gonna do this thing.
She's
gonna
like,
do
bitch,
the
I
damn
was in my
thing.
30s, but
well, but,
I'm
you
just
know,
kidding.
same vibe.
Same
Yeah,
vibe.
totally.
So she went on OkCupid. This platform has a bigger pool to fish from, let's just say, and there's a lot of international people living here.
Brilliant.
I love that now people feel like they need to justify being on OkCupid. They're like, I'm on OkCupid, but these are my reasons.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
we get it.
Justified. Got it.
I matched with this guy that was Italian. He spoke English fluently, he felt, in parentheses, I did not. We met up halfway between our hometowns. We were going to walk in a park, so I brought my dogs so I wouldn't be alone and had an excuse to go if needed. Wonderful.
Brilliant.
Very smart.
Love it.
When he finally arrived, 30 minutes late, I looked in his car and it looked like he'd been sleeping in there.
Oh.
He did not look quite the same as his profile picture. He was short and I am not. He was drinking a big can of Monster drink and slurred his speech.
Oh,
okay.
no.
So
Oh.
that's a lot to
There's
break
a lot
down.
to digest there. Listen, the energy of an adult man drinking a can of Monster is, I don't claim that energy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, look,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like what you like. You
Like
know,
what you
like
like,
if you drink Monsters at home, like fine, like whatever, like do your thing. but the vibe.
You're
is a
rolling
vibe.
up in a like Toyota Tercel,
Right.
just like
Yeah,
monster energy.
Yes, it's giving like I, sit at home in my pajamas and I have dishes stacked up in
Yes.
my sink vibes,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
that's the vibe that you're giving off with that.
It reminds me so much of the roommate that I had back in my 20s, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, Monster Energy.
He had monster energy for sure. And when he moved out, I found half a block of Colby cheese under my couch.
Talked about this, which is what I mean. And like again, like my brothers prefer Monster to Red Bull, like as an energy drink.
Sure.
It's fine. I'm really trying not to be like super judgy about it. It's just there is a certain like
But
vibe attached.
If your brothers lived in a place by themselves, would they not be sitting around in their pajamas with
100%.
With a block of
Yeah.
Colby cheese that they then put under the couch.
My brothers are like 20 and 21. Like, I feel like that's
exactly.
what you do at like 20 and 21.
not
Like,
at like 40?
Yes. So she started walking with the dogs and he followed. He talked about everything that popped in his head, super random, from video games, which I hate, to American politics, 80s horror
Which I
movies,
hate.
weed, I don't smoke, looking for a place to stay, which confirmed my idea that he slept in his car, and never asking me anything at all about myself.
that I have to say that is probably one of the biggest turnoffs. Like none of that was good.
No.
Like all of that was pretty bad, but it'd be different if you felt like you were talking to like an empathetic, interesting individual who's interested in you.
Yeah.
But like someone who won't ask you a single thing about you and talks about themselves the entire time, like exhausting.
It's a very clear difference when you're being talked to versus being talked at.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's awful. I cut the walk short and wanted to go home. The drive was an hour to and from. I felt that I had driven all this way for nothing. For reference, for Dutch people, an hour is a really long drive because we want to be able to bike everywhere.
Yes.
And it's the same when I went to Denmark.
Yeah.
Nobody had a car.
Right.
Nobody. It's too expensive, and they hated it. So I wonder if that's similar in the Netherlands. When I returned to the car, I asked the dogs if they wanted something to drink, pouring them a bowl of water. He replied, "No thanks, I have a drink."
I wasn't talking to you.
Talking to the dogs. He said, "You want to go, right?" I confirmed and added, "Nice meeting you." He replied, "Don't lie."
You know what? I actually
mean-
appreciate that. I
Okay.
actually appreciate. He's like, look, we
Okay.
know, we both
Well, we
know.
both
Like,
know.
let's not pretend.
Yeah.
I decided to be honest and said, "You're right. It wasn't nice meeting you. I'm very disappointed meeting you."
Oh my shit! She was like, "I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna.
She's like,
you
I'm
want to
gonna
know?
eat it.
I'm gonna tell you no.
Don't lie. Okay. All right. Well, it's him. Oh, I know. Me. Why is that? Why am I so disappointed? Him. Because I was late. I didn't want to explain because I figured he would not be able to understand considering the state he was in. I asked him not to contact me again, and let's leave it at that. I blocked his number in his phone, not realizing that this does not mean they are blocked in WhatsApp. He left me some voice message in the middle of the night, ranting about how I was uptight,
Okay.
thinking I was better than him.
He's up in the middle of the night because all that monster.
Yeah.
He's like jittery.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no. Another message apologizing, telling me what he had planned.
So embarrassing.
And then finally another message telling me how he knew I was against him and his plans to start a weed farm. My phone is switched off at night, so I listened to the messages the following morning, replying, "I don't know how to react to this. I am ending this conversation now. Goodbye."
I appreciate her straightforwardness.
I know.
I really
Yeah.
Love her energy here.
Yeah.
And blocked him from WhatsApp. After this, I deleted my OkCupid account.
She was like, "I've had enough.
That's
It's good enough."
yeah. Oh, so good. Love it.
Brilliant. Oh, okay. Well, my story is from. I almost said my story is from OkCupid.
Wow.
It's not. My story is from our inbox as well. It says, "I was 23, have been single since sophomore year of college, and having no luck on the apps. So when my mom's friend told me that she had a guy to set me up with, and I saw a picture. I thought he was pretty cute, and I agreed to my first ever blind date. We got each other's phone numbers, and he was very nice over text, and we agreed to meet up for dinner and drinks. He suggested a place I'd never been to before, saying it was a cool Japanese restaurant. I got to the place, and it was a tiki bar off the side of the highway across from a Hooters.
How do you wait?
Yeah, okay. That's the Monster Energy drink of restaurants.
How do you mix those two things up? Like, I'll be honest, I like a good tiki bar.
same.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that's just a fun night out, right?
Love
Like, you're
it.
like, I just want a drink with an umbrella in it.
Yes.
Like, that sounds great. But
I kind of want to do that right now.
100%. In no way are tiki bars and Japanese restaurants
Not even, no.
on the same plane.
No.
It's not. It's not. We met up and started making small talk while we waited for a table. We didn't have a reservation. And I quickly realized he was a close talker. Every time he leaned in to talk to me, I took a micro step back and he took another step forward. The front
Read the room.
the front hall of the restaurant had these large red pillars, and at the beginning of our wait time, we had been standing by one of them. 10 minutes into our wait time, I realized that we had shifted like 15 to 20 feet from the pillar.
How is he not picking
How
up
do you
on
not
this?
pick up on that? I don't know.
He was also just trying to be very visibly really cool, sexy, suave, and mysterious. Think Flynn Rider's The Smolder look in Disney's Tangled.
Oh, I don't know why I was picturing like Gaston.
Oh,
From
there you go.
I mean, all of it's
Yes,
giving
yeah,
fuckboy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just that I just watched too many Bond movies and that macho guy was trying to imitate their mannerisms.
You are not Daniel Craig, sir.
honey, not
You
even
are
a little
not.
bit. He can close talk to me anytime.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mind. I'll be right there.
I wouldn't have moved. We'd be at that red pillar still.
Nose to nose.
It's just real tight in. Real awkward eye contact.
Tell me about your day.
Okay. I quickly realized I was just not that into him, but was willing to go through the date politely and amicably for the sake of my mom's friend who set us up. We were taken to our table, and I'm thinking at least he can't close talk to me with the table in between us.
He sat next to her, didn't he?
No, but he leaned across the table the whole time.
Oh my
and I
God.
sat
That's worse, actually.
pin straight with my back against the booth. We sat down at the table, and I suggested we just do drinks instead of dinner, as I'm, quote, not that hungry. He was fine with it, and we started looking at the drink menus. Again, with that weird try-hard smolder, he said, "You're a Mai Tai girl, aren't you? You look like a Mai Tai girl."
What does it mean? What does it mean?
You're a Mai Tai girl. Oh my goodness.
I was not, in fact, a Mai Tai girl, whatever that means. I told him the cocktail I was thinking about getting instead. And when the waiter came over and I started to try and order, my date interrupted me and ordered for me.
Okay.
I thought that's weird, but I chalked it up to him just overcompensating and trying to be some kind of old-fashioned chivalrous gentleman.
Did women even like that when it was the thing to do? Did they even like it then?
I think that there might have been a cultural time in which that was like, oh, he ordered my drink for me.
But what
and
if
he
I don't
opened
like
my
it?
door for me. I think there was
I'm a picky motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, what if I don't?
Well, she told him what she was ordering.
Oh, right. So
but-
he didn't choose, at least on the menu.
That's right.
All right.
But still, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not 2022 vibes.
No, it's like 1952.
Exactly.
vibes.
It's like, yes, exactly. So I do think that there was probably a time in which you would tell all your girlfriends that he ordered your food for you. And he's so sweet. Ugh. Not now. The conversation was not much better. He didn't ask me any questions about me. We just talked about this. He told me how he's in finance but does hardly any work, and he drinks on the job with his coworkers all the time. He told me how
Is he a Mad Men?
Right. Yes. I think he time traveled.
Yes.
He is a character from the show Mad Men.
Yes.
Okay.
He told me how he's lucky his office is so close to his parents' house and how he takes 3-hour lunches to go over there, change into sweatpants, nap, and have his mom make him a big lunch. Brag.
I mean, it kind of sounds like my work from home vibes right now. If I'm honest,
Listen,
I don't even have to change into sweatpants.
I'm already in them.
already in
I'm
them.
already in sweats. That is if I even changed into my sweats out of my pajamas, which lately,
Let's be honest, I'm not.
No.
we're going further and further into the day before I change out of my PJs at this point.
Yeah.
In the panties.
If ever.
However, this is very odd because
Yeah.
I feel like he is trying to give like quote unquote alpha male vibes, but then at the same time is like, my mommy makes my lunch for me. Like,
I go to my house, my mommy's house, and take a nappy.
That's I don't understand why that would be a brag because
No,
it's not.
No,
I
it's
think
not.
for me it's not that I like ambitious people.
Well, you're not going to like
that doesn't mean get all the money or whatever, but I want people to be like
have a little gumption.
hungry.
Yeah.
You know, like
or care about something. If it's not your 9 to 5, like that's fine.
That's
but like
fine.
you're not giving me anything right now because like what you're saying is like you have a job you clearly don't care about because you just admitted to not working and drinking all day and taking 3-hour long naps. So what are you doing?
yeah, if he was
Yeah.
like, I go and take a 3-hour lunch, because I sneak out and do a 3-hour lunch, I can go to my parents' house and in the garage, I'm building like a
Writing
robot.
my novel. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's
Okay.
cool.
That's cool.
You know, whatever. But that,
No.
not
Nappy,
cool. I
nappy
don't
and
like
mommy
that.
lunchy.
Keep that to yourself.
Yeah. Our drinks came and he immediately drank half the drink in one big gulp. He made a comment that I'll need to watch his drinking for him.
No.
We don't play that. We
I
don't
asked-
play that.
I asked, at 27, shouldn't you know your limits? He said, well, yeah, but it's nice when a woman can look after her man.
Oh God.
He did come back from 1957.
My God.
He's a time traveler.
Why? In what? Who thinks that's hot? Like, who is okay?
Well, he does love a mommy situation, it seems.
Yes, he does.
At this point, I'm so over him and his sexist, egotistical BS, but I'm still trying to be patient and sit through the drinks for the sake of those who set us up. He ordered another drink while I've barely had half of mine. They're very strong, and asked me if I've ever been on a blind date before. I told him no, and I've only ever dated off the apps. And he scoffed and said, well, I'm much better than any guy off the apps. Don't you agree? I tried to nervously laugh it
Don't
off.
set yourself up like that,
But
sir.
he pushed. No, seriously. Don't you agree that I'm great? Wouldn't you say this date is going well so far? I laughed again and took a sip of my drink again. So really, how do you think this date's going so far?
Oh
Stop it.
my God! Stop.
Read the
I-
room.
Read the room.
Read the room.
Honestly,
Oh, you're dying. Christina, this is your worst date nightmare.
Actually, I need to go use the restroom.
All right, then. He asked for it. I took a deep breath, knowing this is a super out of my comfort zone. I'm super shy and anxious, but I said, to be honest, you're very handsome and I've enjoyed getting to know you, but I don't see it getting past tonight. His entire demeanor changed. He stopped smiling, slowly sat back, slowly nodded, repeating, okay. Took his drink, drank it to the dregs, threw his straw till it slurped. Took a deep, sharp breath in. For a second, I was scared he was going to scream at me or throw a glass, but instead he quietly said, in that case, I'm going to head out, and stood up to leave with his coat. In some wildly uncharacteristic burst of anger and confidence, I said, you don't want to get the check? I have no problem splitting or even picking up the bill, but after all that macho energy, he was really going to stick me with the bill? He looked at me, sat back down, and said, okay, sure, I'll get the check, but then you need to leave. Get out. So I got up and walked out.
what? I'm like, my jaw is
I
on the
know. Floor.
motherfucking floor.
15 minutes later.
You know what? I'm writing an email to his mama.
15 minutes later, I was still sitting in my car in the parking lot, trying to calm down enough to drive and screaming at my mom on the phone about what just happened. And he sends me a text. Sorry, I reacted that way. I wish you the best. Did not reply, but I hope that man gets some therapy.
Whoa.
Whoa. Wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, we had a real fun batch today. Fun batch of stories.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I have the Tainted Love this week.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of this information. So I watched a YouTube video from Danielle Christie, who I've talked about before. She's kind of similar to Bailey Sarian, like does her makeup and talks about true crime. This actually isn't where I first heard about this story. I heard about this like years ago, but she brought it back to my attention. And then there's also a 48 Hours episode called Writing on the Wall. I got info from the Midwest Crime Files as well. Okay. Trigger warning off the top for child death in this story.
Okay.
Chris Coleman was born, unfortunately, on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
March 20th, 1977 in Chester, Illinois. Now, listen, did I look up his birth chart
Oh, my God.
just to redeem my birth date?
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, I did.
No rising, nothing else, right?
He's an Aries, Moon, Rising, Mercury, and Venus. So I feel validated.
Got it.
That
Wow.
is an energy.
It's a very Aries
I think we know
heavy
who
chart.
the villain is.
But not sun, so there's that.
there you go.
His parents...
Almost, though.
Almost.
Literally
Almost.
days.
Literally a day. The
Yeah.
next, if he had been born the next day, it would have been an
It was
Aries.
like 11:59, wasn't it?
Probably. His parents, Ron and Connie, were both evangelical Christian pastors. He and his two brothers all had a pretty standard Midwest conservative Christian upbringing, so very religious. Church was a huge part of family life. I know these people. I know these people. I went to church with these people.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those who knew Chris said that he was soft-spoken, mild-mannered, and polite as a child, and excelled both in sports and academically at school. So his sports ability caught the attention of a Marine recruiter, and Chris joined the Marines immediately upon leaving high school. And while there, he worked as a dog handler in the K-9 unit. So again, he excelled in this position. He won a lot of awards, a lot of medals, certificates, what have you. And he seemed to be just like a really high-achieving type of guy, capable guy. Chris was about 21 years old when he met Sherry Weiss, who was a military police officer during a K-9 training session at an Air Force base in San Antonio. So the two clicked immediately. They bonded over the fact that they were both from Illinois. Sherry's family was from Chicago, like not too far away from where his family lived. And they just really hit it off. So they started dating, but they kept it pretty quiet. And they'd been seeing each other for maybe a couple of months when Chris decided it was time to take Sherry home to meet his parents. Listen, if you watch, I just want to prepare everyone to be like very angry, especially as it's related to his parents. And if you grew up in the Midwest with this kind of like evangelical Christian...
Yep.
Oh, I just saw
Culture?
this scene in Love is Blind season 2
Oh,
where Shayna's family, and they're like, are you
Oh,
a godly man?
my God.
Yes,
like-
so...
Just
Yeah.
rip my skin off.
Wanted to peel my skin off and
His
melt it to the
parents-
floor.
If you watch that 48 Hours episode, they interview his parents a lot. This story actually, and Danielle Christie is the first person I saw make this connection. Chris Coleman and Chris Watts, similar vibes.
Oh, wow.
Like, and their parents, similar vibes, right?
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe without the religious element,
Sure,
but
sure.
you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So when they got to his parents' house, Chris introduced Sherry as his friend, not as his
Okay.
girlfriend.
I don't like
And
that.
Mr. and Mrs. Coleman immediately disliked Sherry. They didn't even really make an attempt to hide how much they disliked her. They
That's some real shit there,
so
dude.
they saw her coming up like through the window and immediately were like, no, because she was wearing shorts that they thought were too short.
Why wouldn't he have said something before they go?
Right.
You know your parents.
Right.
Yes.
You know your parents.
Yes.
If you know your parents are those people, why before you left weren't you like, listen, I don't give a shit, but my parents are really conservative
Right.
and they're really funny
See,
about stuff like
but
that.
now you are using your empathy to
Yeah.
place yourself in Sherry's shoes when something like that tells me that he is not an empathic person at all
Right.
or has no empathy.
Yeah. She also had tattoos on her legs, so that was a big no-no for
They wouldn't
Ron
like
and
me.
Connie. Yeah. And she wasn't a very religious person, or at least not religious enough for their liking, right? So they were immediate no's for their perfect little boy, Chris. It really does feel like no one would have been good enough
Yeah.
anyway. Like it was just like, no one's going to be good enough anyway. So they leave this meeting, and Chris tells his parents he's going to drop Sherry off in Chicago. Again, he didn't tell them that this was his girlfriend. So he's like, I'm just going to go drop my friend off at her parents' house. Check you guys later. But the next thing they know, he calls them and is talking to his dad, and he's like, BT dub, Sherry and I got married.
Hint.
Uh-huh.
On your way out the door?
Uh-huh.
Wait, what?
So as it turned out, Sherry had gotten pregnant sometime before their meeting. And if I had to guess, I would say that they wanted to kind of like test the waters with the introduction.
Again.
Before mentioning either the relationship or the pregnancy.
You want your parents to like this person, I would assume.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Right?
Yeah. Since it didn't go well, the meeting of the parents, they were just kind of like, well, we're just going to get going. And then just got married in secret without telling anybody.
Remember that friend of mine?
Yeah.
That you hated?
That you hated? Yeah.
That's my wife.
So needless to say, his parents were not pleased. It just made them dislike Sherry even more. So they didn't say this directly, but it really does feel like they felt like Sherry trapped their son by getting pregnant,
Gross.
right? Or that she'd gotten pregnant
That's
on purpose or something.
It's weird. It's like he
That-
wasn't.
That's how it works.
He wasn't there.
Exactly, because they really do. It feels like this like moral judgment of Sherry. Like
Weird.
they're judging her for getting pregnant out of wedlock. Never mind the fact that their son also had to have been having premarital sex.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
for this to
that's
work.
how that works.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So you actually, both people have to be involved.
Unless it's a Mary, mother of God situation here.
I mean, and even that's still maybe a question. I mean, whatever.
So Chris's dad actually said that Chris called him later on saying that he immediately regretted getting married to Sherry. In the interview, he said, my gosh, he was raised in the church. He was repentant and broken over it.
Okay.
So
I
Chris,
bet.
Uh-huh. So Chris and Sherry moved to Columbia, Illinois, which is not far outside of St. Louis, Missouri. It's like over across the river. Sherry gives birth to their first son, Garrett, and then becomes pregnant again pretty much immediately.
So he was so heartbroken. He was like, let's bang this out.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, okay.
And gives birth to their second son, Gavin. So this relationship really, really fast tracked. I mean, they had only known each other for a matter of months before she got pregnant. Then they got married. Then they had 2 kids back to back.
And they're like in their early 20s.
Early 20s. Yeah. I think she was 20 or 21 when they had their first son.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So Chris decides after their second child is born that he wants to leave his job in the Marines and find a more stable, like less dangerous career path. So Mommy and Daddy Coleman helped Chris get a job working on the security team for famous Christian evangelist Joyce Meyer. Now, if you grew up like me,
I know Joyce Meyer.
you know who Joyce Meyer is. Like if you see her picture and you grew up in even like marginally like Christian circles, you will know who this person is. She's a conservative Christian speaker and writer. She's one of those like Joel Osteen types who has like millions of dollars, like it's worth
Followers,
like millions of dollars. Yeah.
Not me. I'm C&E Catholic. Christmas and Easter. Oh, man.
So anyway, his parents knew Joyce, and so he got a job working for Joyce Meyer Ministries, and he started off on the security team, but was soon promoted to Joyce's personal bodyguard. And with that promotion came $100,000 a year.
Okay.
So pretty sweet.
Doing
gig.
all
And
right.
that's like, what is that in today's money?
I mean, I don't know.
$100,000. It's actually $95,000 now.
Inflation.
But I mean, that's a lot of money to be living in Illinois.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah, that's good money here.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things seemed to be really looking up for the family. They moved into a nice 2-story home in Columbia, and everyone says that Chris and Sherry are a great couple. They have a beautiful family. Sherry's a homemaker. The boys loved sports, and they played for a local Columbia Blue Jays football team. Even though things seemed to be going pretty well, Chris's job meant that he accompanied Joyce on trips all over the world. So he was often away from home more than he was at home. And it was really...
This actually sounds perfect.
Well, I mean, it was
Dream come
hard
true.
on her and it was hard on the boys. So one of like a devastating fact is that the boys kept a countdown calendar on the refrigerator that counted down for when their dad would be home because they wanted to, spend time with their dad.
Oh, that's sweet.
And it was also disappointing for Sherry because he had left his job in the Marines so that he could have something that was more stable, so that they could have a more stable family life and home life. And he ended up being gone all the time.
Right.
So as the years start to go by, they wear on the marriage. In addition to Chris traveling all the time, the couple would also fight about money because Sherry not only liked to shop, but she also donated a lot of money to various charities. And so they would argue about her spending habits. It's like he wasn't at home.
Yeah.
You got to find that happiness where
she's filling a void.
Yeah.
she is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris also became dissatisfied. Brace yourselves. Okay. Chris also became dissatisfied and angry with Sherry for refusing to perform her, quote, wifely duties when he would return from one of his trips away.
Okay. As somebody who used to travel a lot for work, that was the hardest part on our relationship. Because when you spend a lot of time away from somebody, it's not like you're reintroducing yourself to someone, but you also have I don't know. I don't want to say like
you have to really work on your intimacy.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're spending so much time away.
Yeah.
And also she's being a single mother while he's gone. She's probably tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also at this point they've been together for nearly a decade. Things ebb and flow.
Yeah.
That's just the way relationships go.
100%.
To say it like that, like it is your wifely duty to give me sex when I
That's
want
not
it.
giving me the right vibes. That's not getting
That
me
ain't
in the
doing
mood. If he had to do a job like that and he came home and he's like, what can I do to help? Why don't you go,
Take a
get
break.
a massage, get out of the house for a little bit. I got these boys and stuff. Like little things like that. Like maybe then he could get lucky,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I'm positive that's not what he did.
I bet it's not.
I'd put money on it.
100%.
Yeah, I'd put money on it. Still, Sherry was determined to make their marriage work, even when she began to suspect that Chris might be having an affair. So around this time, so my story takes a turn. Around this time, Chris starts receiving threatening messages and death threats through Joyce Meyer Ministries. So Joyce had made massive amounts of money through her speaking engagements and ministry, and some people believe she misused those funds. So these kinds of emails and letters were not uncommon. But now these letters seem to be directed directly at Chris Coleman.
Make any sense?
Right?
How would anybody even know who he is?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird.
And sounds fake.
The death threats accused Joyce Meyer of preaching bullshit and threatened Chris Coleman's family, saying, "Stop Joyce Meyer from preaching her BS or I will kill your whole family while they sleep."
That is a red fucking flag.
Yeah. That's specific.
Yeah.
The emails and letters came to Chris's work email from an email address called destroychris@gmail.com.
Okay.
And then destroy Chris.
I have a feeling it's coming from inside the house.
Yeah. The call is inside the house for sure.
And then the letters started arriving straight to the Coleman house. And they kept coming and getting progressively more and more threatening.
This is like pre-internet too. So no one's asking questions how they found
Well,
this
at this
motherfucker
point-
and found his address.
At this point, it's 2008.
Oh, okay.
So we are...
this isn't pre-internet, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in internet age, albeit,
early. Al
Yeah.
Gore's just like unplugging things and
we're
plugging
in
things in.
MySpace. This is like I was 2 years into having a Facebook in 2008. So
I
it was
just started my Facebook in
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah, so it was still, getting off the ground. The messages started in November of 2008 and continued for months. Sherry was absolutely terrified. I mean, this person knows where she lives. Her sons are now 11 and 9 at this stage, and she's afraid for their safety. So the final straw for Sherry comes when she goes to get the mail and finds a threatening letter in their mailbox with no delivery address on the envelope, which meant that the letter was hand delivered.
right.
So at this point, she demands that Chris go to the police. So he files a report, and his neighbor, Justin Barlow, who lives kind of across the street, a little catty corner, he's an officer. He also happens to be an officer with the Columbia Police Department. He's a detective. So he agreed to help out the family. He said that he would keep an eye on the house while Chris is out of town on business, and didn't tell them, but was like, I'm also going to aim one of my security cameras at your house so that if anybody comes by
And
again,
didn't tell him.
Yeah.
That's nice.
we can capture that, right? So the final letter arrived in April of 2009 and said, "This is my last warning. Your worst nightmare is about to happen." So about a month later, on the morning of May 5th, 2009, at around 6:40 in the morning, Detective Barlow, the neighbor, received a phone call. It's Chris. He sounds panicked. He tells Barlow that he left the house that morning at 5:45 to go to the gym, but he'd been trying to call Sherry to like make sure she was awake, and she's
Have
usually up
somebody
at
else
that
find them.
time, and she's not picking up the phone. And he says he's worried because of all the threats that they've been receiving, and can he go over to the house?
But you're just at the gym. Why don't you just drive home?
Right. Well, he tells him, he's like, "I'm only like 5 minutes away." Like, that's what he says. He's like, I'm 5 minutes away, but can you please like go over there? So, so Barlow's security cameras show him going over to the house at 6:51 in the morning. He knocks on the door. No one answers. So he checks the perimeter of the house. He notices a window screen has been knocked out, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go in. Upon entering, he notices an overwhelming scent of spray paint. As he moves through the house, he sees that the walls are covered in messages written in red paint. He describes it as Manson-like, like helter-skelter-like, right?
Wow.
Some of which read, "Punished, fuck you, I'm always watching, and you have paid." Written all over the walls, and on the staircase leading upstairs, and on all the walls upstairs as well.
I am fascinated by what has to be going through this guy's mind.
Yeah. So he makes his way upstairs, and when he enters, and again, trigger warning. So when he enters the bedrooms, he finds Sherry, Garrett, and Gavin all dead in their respective beds, with messages spray painted above them, or horrifically, in the case of one of the boys, spray painted on the sheet that covered his body.
Oh my
So he was
God.
dead. They put the sheet over him and then spray painted the message on the sheet over his body, which is just a level of evil.
This is a level of evil that if we didn't know, because there's no fucking way it's not this dude who did it. This is a level of evil that a stranger doing it, but you're fucking dead.
Yeah. No, I mean, and we said it from the jump, and just that little thing of him not even preparing Sherry to meet his parents. This is somebody beyond narcissist. This is somebody that's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like a full on psychopath.
Yeah, I think definitely narcissistic tendencies as well. Like,
Right.
I think, and you'll hear kind of going further in, it feels very Chris Watts like, in that, like, it feels like his parents have shielded him and given him what he's wanted and made excuses for him his
Right.
whole life too. So he hasn't had to own up to a lot of
Mistakes or
Right.
consequences.
Mhm. So all three had been strangled to death in their sleep. Detective Barlow describes how horrific and sad the scene was. I mean, this would be horrific for anybody, but these were his neighbors. Like, he drove by their houses all the time. Like, he's got security footage of like the boys playing like catch in the front yard and stuff like that. Like, these were people he knew personally.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
like, that would be really difficult. So by this time, Barlow had called for backup, and when Chris arrives home, they bar him from entering the house. And when the police chaplain informs him that his family is dead, he immediately drops to the ground and begins to sob. And while that is a reaction, there was something off about the reaction.
Yeah.
You know bad acting when you see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
His father and Joyce Meyer arrived shortly after to comfort Chris. Chris was sitting inside an ambulance with the chaplain comforting him, and the chaplain said that Chris looked down at his knuckles, and there were red marks on his knuckles, and there were like scratches on his arms. And when the chaplain was like, "Hey,
Where'd that come from?
what's that?" he said that Chris immediately started sobbing again and punching the gurney inside the ambulance, which to me is very suspicious. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit, I need to give a reason for why I have these marks.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to act like I'm losing it. I'm going to punch this gurney, and that way they won't be able to tell. you
Right.
know? So at this point, they feel like they need to start asking Chris some questions.
You think?
They know about the letters he's been receiving, and so they do look into that. There had been some stalkers and people who were just generally unhappy with Joyce Meyer, so they check that out. but they quickly start hitting dead ends. When they question Chris, right away, they're thrown off by his demeanor. And you can watch almost all or like most of the interrogation in that 48 hours. And I think also people have uploaded to YouTube like most of the interrogation, if not all of it. And it's odd. Like, you definitely get a sense that something's not right. Again, it feels a lot like the Chris Watts interviews when you watch those. His acting is bad.
Right.
Like, it just feels like bad acting, you know? So they asked him if his marriage was on the rocks at all. And he said that they were having some communication issues. But other than that, they were grand. Now, they knew this was bullshit because they had checked Sherry's phone and seen that she had asked a friend to pray for her because Chris wanted a divorce. They then asked if he was seeing anyone besides his wife, and his body language gets so shifty when they ask him that. He says no, but then, because he's an idiot, like, then out of nowhere, he's like, well, I mean, just in case you end up talking to my friend Tara, I just want to let you know that we're just really close friends. Like, we talk a lot, but like, that's it. Like, definitely nothing's good. Okay. They're like, Tara, who? They're like writing it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously they were like,
Tara's like, we were engaged. What are you talking about?
Right.
So they ask if any of the conversations between him and Tara were anything that his wife might disapprove of. And he's like, probably. So when asked if he thought things with Tara could ever go further, he said, no, I didn't want to do that to my kids. So Tara was a woman named Tara Lintz. She was Sherry's best friend from high school. Who he had met through his wife while the family was vacationing in Florida where Tara lives. So they had a family vacation from Illinois to Florida. While they were there, Sherry was like, let me hit up my old friend from high school, Tara. And so that's how he met her and then kept up a relationship with her.
Wow.
Afterwards.
That's
Yikes.
disgusting.
Up.
That's disgusting.
Yes. So the cops ring up the Florida police, like ring, ring. And they're like, hey, can you guys talk to this Tara woman for us? And they're like, yeah, for sure. So they make contact with Tara and she dishes immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
She's like, I don't give a shit.
And this woman, if you think watching Chris's interviews are weird, watching her interviews, she just found out that her old friend and her
two sons,
her lover's two sons, have been murdered.
Right.
Like, her boyfriend is a suspect and she is so chill. So chill. It's so weird. Like, at one point, she's in the interview and she gets a call from her work because they're like, why aren't you at work? And she is just literally, the way she responds is she's like, yeah, no, sorry. Like, I'm in the middle of a really high profile murder investigation right now. I'm like right in the middle of it. Like, I can put the cops on if you want to talk to them. But yeah, I thought I was coming to work today too, but can't make it. Like, it's so not at all the way you would think.
I mean, from the fucking jump, she's hooking up with her friend from high school's husband. So I'm like, her mental state or whatever, right from the jump, I'm suspect of her.
Yeah, it's very, like, I would say, look at them because it's just so weird the way she acts. Like,
right.
At one point later on, when she's interviewed by the police, she gets a text from Chris. And she's like laughing and she's like, oh, I got a text from Chris. Like, you want to see it? Like,
oh my God.
So weird. So, okay. She dishes immediately. She doesn't try to cover for him at all. She's like, yeah, here are all my texts, here are my emails, my voicemails, pictures, etc. He was definitely having an affair with me. So they found out that for the last 6 months, Chris had been flying Tara out to join him wherever he was traveling with Joyce Meyer. He took her to Hawaii. He took her like all over the place.
Oh, but it's Sherry's spending
habits. That's a problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right? When police confronted Chris with the information and all the pictures of them like kissing and stuff, he said, well, I didn't think it was an affair.
Okay. What did you think it was?
He says, an affair is when you're living with them, going to get married and everything.
No.
What?
No.
What do you mean?
No.
And even
is that what Joyce told you?
Even if that was the definition of an affair, Tara had a wedding date to Chris saved on her Google Calendar. He had purchased her a promise ring, and the couple had credit card accounts together.
Okay,
Stop. Oh my.
Stop, honey. Stop. So there was, here we have the motive, right?
Wow.
In the meantime, detectives have made another damning discovery. Chris had said that Sherry and the boys were alive when he left for the gym at 5:45. Meaning whatever happened to them had to have happened between then and his call an hour later to Detective Barlow. The coroner found that the time of death was somewhere around 3 a.m, and Barlow's cameras, as well as the security cameras of surrounding properties, didn't see anyone else going in or out of the house. So they're like, well...
That's weird.
Mm-hmm. And he's sitting there insisting, they're like, oh my God. It looks like
dude,
you're talking to a kid who got taken to the principal's office who's trying to talk himself out of trouble.
Oh, the worst.
And he's like whimpering and simpering, and they're like, we have proof that she was not alive when you left the house that morning. And he's like, no, she was alive. It's so ugh. So it just set my teeth on edge. When they check the IP address for destroychris@gmail.com,
I'm going to be surprised, aren't I?
It went back to Chris's laptop.
What?
Cal surprise.
So he was obviously himself. He was sending all those threatening messages to himself and to
For
his family.
how long? For like a year, right?
For at least
6
from
months.
At least from November of 2008
Did
to
those
April.
start before he had hooked up?
That's what
with
I'm
Well,
wondering.
let's see. November, December, January, February, March,
April. Yep, 6 months
6
exactly.
months. So probably around the same time he started up with Tara.
Oh man.
So here's the part I'm a little unclear about, because even with all of that evidence against Chris, they feel like they don't have enough to arrest him.
It's the same as the Josh Powell thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, how did you not know?
Yeah. How?
How?
So they release him while they build their case. As they're going through Chris's things, it becomes increasingly clear that he was obsessed with Tara. On his laptop, they found save the dates for the wedding he was planning with her, as well as a list of baby names he liked for the children they would have together.
Oh, my.
He had 2 children already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who had a countdown calendar.
Who
to
loved
when
their
they-
dad. Yeah.
Oh, I have chills.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
At the funeral for Sherry and the boys, Chris attended but was texting Tara during the funeral, saying how much he loved her, how much he missed her.
Wow.
It's so upsetting.
The gall.
Mm-hmm. And again, Tara is a piece of work in her own right. Didn't kill anybody, but is also just yikes on that person.
Yeah.
Now, Chris's parents continue to be the worst ever. Initially, they both tried to deny that little Chrissy would ever have an affair. But then when it became clear that they couldn't deny it any further,
I'm going to place money on the fact that they blame Sherry.
they blame Sherry.
Oh, fuck.
So, and it's going to make you so angry.
I hate this so much.
In
I
the
know.
48 Hours episode, Ron, Chris's dad, says this, quote, Tara was just meeting a need that Sherry wasn't taking care of. Every man has his desires and every man has to be respected. It's built into every man. If your wife doesn't respect you, then you're going to go find respect someplace else.
If your wife doesn't respect you, it's because you're a fucking piece of shit. I'm going to burn.
Right? When asked if he thought Sherry was a bad wife, he says, for that brief time, she stepped back from her job as a wife, from doing her job as a wife. And that justified him. If Chris was cheating, it's because Sherry wasn't doing.
Those
her
are their fucking grandkids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And so they deserve to die because she stepped, quote unquote, stepped away from her wifely duties.
Right.
Fuck
fucking-
is wrong
Well,
with
and
people.
by-
Honestly,
She wasn't fulfilling her wifely duties by having sex with Chris whenever he wanted, and that meant that she didn't respect him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got a fist of respect.
Additionally,
ass.
guys, listen, hold on to your tits, because additionally, when police search Ron's laptop, they find naked pictures of Tara that Chris had sent to him.
That's fucking weird.
So
That
weird.
is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You just unlocked something fucked up in chat.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. That's
Yeah.
that's not an okay.
No, and it's also
Yo.
it speaks to who these people are pastors. Like both his parents are pastors, and like they denied that Chris would even have the affair when all the time his dad knew, or at least knew something was going on, because he's getting these naked pictures of Tara from his son.
I cannot believe I've never
beside
heard
myself.
this one.
It's
I am
messed up
livid right
yeah,
now.
it's messed up.
This is really Josh.
This is Josh Powell.
This feels like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And
Def-
his
it's
dad.
the same vibes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. During the investigation, they also find Chris's DNA under Sherry's fingernails, which suggests that she woke up while he was.
Right.
Yeah. And they also found this idiot. They also found a receipt in the house for a can of red spray paint.
Oh,
You didn't take in
my
the house.
God, sir.
Wow.
In the
God.
days following the murders, a neighbor also spotted Chris disposing of his wife and children's belongings. He'd just been released from the police department, and a couple days later, he's throwing out his family's things.
Wow.
Just
Not even a funeral yet.
just wild.
You just wow.
When going through Sherry's phone, they found text on there where she was telling people how strangely Chris was acting. He was constantly berating her and bullying her, and Sherry said that if anything happened to her, Chris did it. The theory became that Chris was trying to provoke Sherry into initiating a divorce. He didn't want to be the one who did it because if he did, he would lose his job at Joyce Meyer Ministries. The company would not employ someone who was divorced if the divorce was due to their own adultery. So that was a policy that Joyce Meyer confirmed in a deposition, saying that Chris's job would certainly have been in jeopardy if they had found out that he had initiated a divorce because he was having an affair with another woman. So he was like he was being an asshole. He was being really like emotionally abusive at home to try and push Sherry to the point where she would ask,
break up. Or she, oh God.
Right,
What
but-
a fucking coward piece of shit.
but she wouldn't do it. Finally, on May 19th, 2009, the police finally arrest Chris Coleman. He's charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. When Tara showed up to testify, she was wearing the promise ring Chris had bought her.
Wow.
Chris's defense continued to say that Chris was not the one sending the threatening messages, and that whoever did send the messages was the person who married Sherry and the boys. They were like, I don't know, this mystery man must have hacked on to Chris's computer, created the email address from his computer.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Occam's razor, bitches.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
simplest answer is the answer.
answer.
Yeah.
And the jury was like, nah, they found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Chris continues to say he's innocent.
Gross.
When they
Can't roll my
called
R's
him
further.
on the 48 Hours interview or episode, when they called him, he said he was trying to argue the science about like when they would have died. And he said, actually, if you look at this other thing, then it puts the time of death at 5:47 a.m. And she's like, and you left the house at 5:45? And he said, correct. So 2 minutes, you left the house, and
then
in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes, they no.
No, sir.
Okay. And it should surprise no one that his parents continue to stand by their little boy, saying there's no way he possibly could have done this.
It's the same
I
as
hate
Chris
them.
Watts.
I hate them as much.
Oh, they're horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
You hate them because they are in a way culpable.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course they are.
Yeah.
The state, of course, feels differently about Chris's innocence, and as recently as 2020, they have denied his multiple requests for a retrial.
Good.
He keeps trying. They keep denying it. But that is the wild, terrible, sad story of the Coleman family murders.
Wow.
It's so weird sometimes because as much as you may think that we do, dear listener, we barely plan an episode.
Oh, yeah.
But to start the episode talking about red flags for abusive or narcissistic behavior and then bookend it with this just feels very, I'm like,
yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo.
Well, palate cleanser.
Yeah.
What are we watching this week?
I have been watching Love is Blind season 2. I am not all the way caught up yet, and I don't want to spill any spoilers, but it is a roller coaster, and there is another Jessica this season. I
Talking
am
about Shayna.
girl.
She
Shayna is a full mess.
She doesn't believe in evolution.
Okay, first of all, okay, all right. Spoiler alerts. We're gonna get into this because I fucking
Okay, so
must.
yeah, if you haven't seen Love is Blind, which I haven't either, but
Well,
you
too bad.
listener have the option. Skip ahead.
When he asks her, when they talk about religion, and she's like, "No, it's a big deal. It's a deal breaker for me, religion." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, great. That is a
Fine.
deal. That is a deal.
Yeah, it's
fucking
your
breaker.
worldview.
Yeah.
Get it.
And he should have been like, yes,
Because he's a full-blown atheist.
yeah.
What?
And
And she is
decides-
so religious that she does not believe in evolution. And he still decides to propose
Why
to
would
her.
you do that?
And she still decides to accept. I'm like,
and then wears the fucking ring that he gave her on her thumb.
what?
Stop. then is like the whole time is like, I just don't think this is gonna work. Leaves the trip
Break
from Mexico,
up.
and he's like, I know it's gonna work. My mom's Catholic.
immediately after he proposes to her, she goes and has a pod meeting
Yes.
with Shane, and he had just proposed to Natalie.
Shane
No,
and
he hadn't
Shayna?
yet.
Oh,
Yeah. He hadn't
yes.
yet.
Stop
He
it.
hadn't proposed to her yet.
Yeah.
And she was like, I am actually in love with you, and I should have said something or whatever.
Wow,
Like, tries to
I really
snake him.
feel like I don't even need to watch the show. I could just have you guys break it down for
it'll
me
be-
every week.
It might
'cause-
actually be better because the voices that we're gonna do. I
Wow.
love that Shayna voice. It was really good. Shayna is the fucking worst. So much.
She's the worst.
She's the one. But you know what it really boils down to? It's Kyle, the one who's like, no, it's Nick. He's the one who's like, oh, so you haven't.
He's a
talked
shit
to-"
starter.
He is a shit starter. He wants to cause chaos.
He's got like an earpiece from the producers, and
Yes.
they're like, "Hey, ask Shane about this thing."
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got you."
Yeah. He's like, ask, oh, and like the Ayana thing or the Mallory thing, when he was like, oh, you and Mallory had a real thing. And so he's like, you should talk to Mallory. He always is the one.
He's the instigator. There's got to be one. I love it. Anyways,
Anyway.
yeah. Anyways,
Sorry.
yes, Love is Blind definitely this week. What about you, Keegan?
Wow. I do have to say that was a lot. Me and the rest of the listeners who have not watched Love is
Or
Blind
don't care.
just, I mean, wow. Okay. Anyway,
We'll save it for our Patreon episode.
right?
I know, right?
I'm like, okay. Anyway, I did start Severance on Apple Plus.
Oh my God, so good.
It's so good. Patricia Arquette is terrifying. Ben Stiller is directing it. It is such an interesting concept.
It's so good.
I would, if you're into like kind of like sci-fi shows, a little dystopia, like it's impossible to tell what year this show takes
right.
place in because like the cars are old, but the technology is new. The like clothing is old. You're like, are we
The
in
computers
the 80s
are
or
old.
we in? Yeah, it's so interesting. And I just love Adam Scott. But if you want a true palate cleanser, I also watched Encanto this week. And
Aw.
just adorable. Like, I mean, just cute and
Yeah.
fun and catchy songs and beautiful animation. And yeah. So yeah.
Oh. Well, if you guys have something that we should watch, read, or listen to, if you've got bad dates, if you just want to check out the sweet, sweet new website, go to myworstdatepodcast.com. And we love you so much. Cheers.
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.